It's time for a break. Forget this car. Stone Panda is headed to the Redneck Rave.
Good morning, good morning. We woke up this morning and got us a cup of coffee instead of an energy drink. How about that? See, we want to try something different this morning. Just like this live. We want to try to keep it up. We'll make it a different kind of live. How about that? How about it? So what I'm gonna do is just look. I found this video talking about the state of Illinois. I'm just gonna play it and frequently stop and talk about the areas. And yeah, it's a different day today. I woke up a different person today, guys. Not a different person, just another different outlook, I guess. But anyway, let's get into this, right? Let's play this sucker. Let's hit that play button.
That's nearly impossible to climb, or that the state has one of the densest sinkhole regions in North America. How about the fact that there's a meteor crater under the city of Chicago? Well, Illinois looks normal from a distance until you realize it's hiding some of the strangest geography in America. And today, we're breaking down 50 facts that will completely change how you see the Prairie State. So let's get right into it. Fact 50, flatter than a pancake. Almost. Everyone loves to joke that Kansas is the definition of flat, but the Midwest's true pancake champion is Illinois.
Nuggy, I'm just going over this video. I'm just talking about Illinois. You're more than welcome to come up if you'd like. But yeah, how about that, guys? It's the Prairie State, right? Like, did anyone know that it was so flat? Like, I live in Southern Illinois, and as this video goes on, you'll understand my confusion of the Prairie State. Because I'm not a northern state person, right? The farthest north I've ever stayed, like actually stayed for a period of time, is Peoria. And that's kind of like mid state. It's not really upstate. And come to find out, that's like the glacier line is like, and that's, as you'll see as this video goes, they say, now I can't confirm nor deny any of the scientific claims they're making, but it does make sense that it's flat till a certain area and then it's not, and when it's not, it's like really, really not. Hey, not a problem, not a problem. McKenzie, I'm not sure who you're talking about. I don't know anybody named Uncle on this YouTube stuff.
The Prairie State is the second flattest state in America, beaten only by Florida. Kansas doesn't even rank in the top 5. Drive through central Illinois and the horizon looks like someone forgot to finish rendering the terrain. Just an endless, perfectly level line in every direction. And this wasn't an accident of nature, it was glacial engineering. For thousands of years, massive ice sheets steamrolled the land like a geological Zamboni, shaving down hills, filling valleys, and smoothing everything into a continent-sized tabletop. In fact, Illinois is so flat that a 20-foot rise can qualify as a hill. Early surveyors said you could see miles from a single point because nothing, absolutely nothing, got in the way. Fact 49, a sky-high point that's not. Here's a fact that would make any mountain climber cry laugh. Illinois' highest point is Charles Mound, standing at a heroic 1,235 feet. For comparison, Chicago's Willis Tower is 1,450 feet tall. Illinois' tallest natural point is literally shorter than its most famous skyscraper. Even crazier, the entire elevation difference between Illinois' highest and lowest points is less than 1,000 feet. That's a smaller vertical range than many Rocky Mountain foothills. If you summit Charles Mound, don't expect climbing gear or altitude sickness. Expect a gentle country stroll that ends at what is essentially a grassy bump. Illinois doesn't do mountains, it does mild inconveniences. Fact 48, America's most exclusive mountain. That isn't even a mountain. So you want to visit Illinois' highest point. Great. Hope you check the calendar. Charles Mound sits on private farmland, and the owners only open it to the public on a handful of designated weekends each year. The first weekends of June, July, August, and September, as well as President's Day weekend in February. Miss those dates, and your expedition ends at a locked gate and a confused cow staring at you. Those who do manage to bag the summit are rewarded with one of the strangest peak bagging experiences in America. No switchbacks, no scrambling, just a walk through rolling pasture land until you arrive at an unmarked grassy knoll. It might be the flattest, chillest, friendliest, most Midwest mountaineering experience on Earth. Fact 47, where the mighty Mississippi gets humbled. At the very bottom tip of Illinois, near the city of Cairo, something wild happens. The Ohio River swallows the Mississippi. Despite the Mississippi's legendary status, the Ohio arrives with nearly 50% more water, about 7,960 cubic meters per second compared to the Mississippi's 5,900. Hydrologically speaking, the Mississippi should actually be renamed the Ohio from this point onward. When the two collide, the river widens into a massive inland sea, with the muddy Mississippi and the clearer Ohio running side by side in two different colors for miles before blending. Early explorers wrote about the confluence as if they'd stumbled into a freshwater ocean. Fact 46, Illinois' sleeping almost volcano. Illinois and volcanoes don't belong in the same sentence, except they very much do. Deep in Hardin County lies Hicks Dome, a 10-mile wide, 300-foot-high bulge in the land caused by explosive underground forces nearly 270 million years ago. Geologists call it a cryptovolcano. Translation, a volcanic explosion that never erupted through the surface, but still shoved thousands of feet of rock upward from below. Magma forced its way upward, fractured the crust, and left behind strange minerals like fluorite scattered across southern Illinois. Hicks Dome is basically a volcano that tried and failed to erupt, leaving the quiet farmland of today sitting atop an ancient geologic pressure cooker. Fact 45, Chicago's hidden meteor crater. Next time your plane takes off from O'Hare, here's a wild thought. You're launching from the top of an ancient meteor crater. Under the airport lies the Des Plaines disturbance, a 5-mile wide impact zone created roughly 280 million years ago when a space rock slammed into what would later become suburban Chicago. The hit was so powerful it shoved the bedrock downward, then made the center rebound upward by nearly 800 feet, a giant geological bounce frozen in stone. Today, the crater is buried under glacial sediment, invisible to anyone on the surface, yet still perfectly preserved in the fractured rock below. In 1945, scientists officially classified it as a cryptovolcanic structure. Their polite way of saying, we found something weird. Fact 44, when America's biggest earthquakes hit Illinois. Illinois doesn't scream earthquake zone, but in 1811 to 1812, it was rocked by some of the largest quakes ever recorded east of the Rockies. The New Madrid earthquakes were so powerful they made the Mississippi River run backward, triggered sand volcanoes across southern Illinois, and caused the prairie to roll like waves. Chimneys collapsed in St. Louis, church bells rang in Boston, and entire sections of Illinois shifted inches to feet in elevation. New lakes formed overnight. These quakes were estimated at magnitude 7+, and the fault is still alive today. Scientists say the region could produce another devastating quake, one that modern Illinois, far more populated and unprepared, would struggle to handle. Fact 43, the Ice Age mega flood that rebuilt Illinois. Around 19,000 years ago, Illinois was hit by a flood so massive it makes modern rivers look like puddles. When a glacial dam broke, the Kankakee Torrent unleashed a surge of water carrying 10 times the Amazon's flow. In just days, it carved the Illinois River Valley, ripped out boulders the size of trucks, and gouged deep canyons that now form places like Starved Rock State Park. The torrent sculpted cliffs, waterfalls, and strange bedrock formations in what was essentially a geological instant. Today, we see rivers and forests, but their shapes are scars from one of the most violent floods North America has ever seen. Illinois' calm geography hides an apocalyptic past. Fact 42. Illinois' surprising desert dunes. Illinois once had a desert, and small parts of it still exist. After the Kankakee Torrent blasted through the region, it left behind enormous fields of loose sand. Winds whipped those deposits into dunes that stretched for miles, creating a barren environment early settlers called the Sahara of the Midwest. Today, Sand Ridge State Forest preserves what's left. Rolling dunes, sandy ridges, and patches of dry prairie so arid, they support species like prickly pear cactus and even heat-loving lizards. Walk a few minutes in any direction and you're suddenly back in typical Midwestern forest. It's a bizarre ecological mashup. Pockets of ancient desert surviving in the middle of Illinois farmland. Fact 41. The cactus that shouldn't exist. Yes, Illinois has wild cactus, and not just a few stray plants. Thriving native populations. The eastern prickly pear grows in sandy prairies and dunes across the state, bursting with bright yellow flowers in summer. These cacti aren't invaders. They're remnants of a 1,000-year drought period after the last ice age, when desert-like conditions stretched a lot farther east. As the climate shifted back to wetter weather, the prickly pear simply refused to leave. Today, places like Sand Ridge State Forest and Illinois Beach State Park host some of the healthiest cactus patches in the Midwest. It's one of Illinois' strangest natural contradictions, a desert species living comfortably in a state better known for cornfields. Fact 40. Illinois.
Now, anyone from the state of Illinois, were you aware of these native prickly pears to the state of Illinois? I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't even aware that we had micro deserts in the state of Illinois either. Yes, they do. Garden of the Gods is on here. I hear you, Dave. I hear you, bro. Look, I didn't even know that shit was around here. I'm not lying. So, if I had, I'd have tried some of them little flowers, huh? Yeah, yes. Horseshoe does have cypress trees. Yep. So there's some cypress trees down in the bottoms by the Big Muddy River, or not Big Muddy, but the Mississippi. I'm sorry. Big Muddy runs through my town. The Big Muddy is my river. It's a lot smaller. It's a real small river. But here, we'll get back to the video.
Illinois' hidden bayou. If someone showed you a photo of the Cache River wetlands, you'd swear it was Louisiana, not Illinois. Deep in the far southern tip of the state lies one of the northernmost cypress tupelo swamps on Earth, where 1,000-year-old bald cypress trees rise from dark tea-colored water. Their massive trunks and knobby knees create a scene straight out of the deep south. This swamp is so biologically rich it earned a Wetland of International Importance designation. Paddle through it and you'll spot great blue herons, cottonmouths, and even alligator gar cruising beneath the surface. It's one of the most surreal landscapes in the Midwest, the kind of place that makes you double-check the map to confirm you didn't teleport to Louisiana.
All right, I just had to say this. Those were not alligator gar that they just showed. Those were needle nose. Those were very large needle nose. That was not an alligator. The mouth was too long. It wasn't wide enough. If you want to see alligator gar, go to Louisiana. They got alligator gar down there. Go down to Florida. They got them down there. These are not. Now, we do have them. I ain't going to say we don't have them because we do have them. Good morning, Vicky. But what they just showed you was not alligator gar.
Fact 39, the land of 10,000 sinkholes. Parts of southwestern Illinois look normal from above until you realize the ground is collapsing underneath. Monroe and St. Clair counties sit on what's called the Sinkhole Plain. home to more than 10,000 sinkholes, one of the densest sinkhole regions in North America. Rainwater dissolves the limestone below, carving out caves, underground rivers, and sudden swallow holes where entire streams disappear into the earth. Some sinkholes are shallow bowls. Others drop into huge cavern systems. To cave explorers and hydrogeologists, it's paradise. To farmers whose fields keep vanishing, not so much. This is Illinois' version of Florida's karst country, an unstable Swiss cheese landscape hiding a whole subterranean world. Fact 38, Chicago's inland tsunami. On June 26, 1954, Chicago experienced something that sounded impossible. A 10-foot wave slammed onto the Lake Michigan shoreline, sweeping fishermen off piers and claiming it wasn't a storm surge. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a seiche, a giant standing wave created when sudden pressure changes slosh water across a lake like a massive bathtub. Lake Michigan's long, narrow shape amplified the wave until it became a genuine freshwater tsunami. Eyewitnesses described it like an ocean swell crashing into the city. Over the last century, only about 10 major seiches have been recorded on Lake Michigan, but the 1954 event remains one of the strongest ever. A reminder that even the Midwest has its own tsunami history. Fact 37, the Prairie State. Without the prairie. Illinois calls itself the Prairie State, but almost none of that prairie still exists. Before European settlement, about 22 million acres of tallgrass prairie covered 61% of Illinois. Today, less than 2,500 acres remain, a loss so total that the ecosystem is effectively functionally extinct in the state. Most surviving patches exist only in old pioneer cemeteries, the only places plows never touched. Step into one of these remnants and you see what Illinois once looked like. Big blue stem grasses 8 feet tall, wildflowers stretching to the horizon. It's one of the most intense habitat losses in American history, and almost no one realizes it happened. Fact 36, the bog that moves under your feet. North of Chicago sits one of Illinois' strangest natural areas, Volo Bog, a true Arctic-style quaking bog where the ground literally moves. Thousands of years ago, it was a deep glacial lake. Over time, sphagnum moss grew across the surface, forming a floating peat mat that wobbles like a giant waterbed. Walk the boardwalk and you'll pass carnivorous sundews, rare orchids, and tamarack trees. Species usually found hundreds of miles north in Canada. Step off the boardwalk, though, and you'll sink straight through the vegetation into cold water beneath. The entire surface trembles when people walk across it, making Volo Bog one of the most bizarre, quietly alien ecosystems in the Midwest. Fact 35, Illinois' Garden of the Gods. Southern Illinois has a place that feels like someone cut out a piece of Utah and dropped it into the Midwest. Garden of the Gods, inside
There it is, Bob. There's your Garden of the Gods. Now, I love how the commentator is comparing each part of the state of Illinois to other states, right? Because it is so diverse here. Like, people just don't understand. Like, as this video goes, you'll see, like, we have almost a little bit of everything here.
Shawnee National Forest is packed with towering 300 million-year-old sandstone formations. Hoodoos, balanced rocks, sheer drop-offs, and cliffs glowing orange at sunset. Landmarks like Camel Rock and the Devil's Smokestack look more like Arches National Park than anything in Illinois. The reason this place stands out? Glaciers never made it here. While ice flattened most of Illinois, this uplifted plateau stayed exposed, letting erosion carve out unreal shapes over millions of years. The scenery was so iconic it appeared on a U.S. quarter, and standing on those cliffs, you'd never believe you're still in the Midwest. Fact 34, the land the glaciers forgot. Not every part of Illinois got steamrolled by ancient ice sheets. In fact, the far northwest corner of the state, Joe Daviess County, and a strip in the far south form Illinois' rugged, untouched remnants of pre-glacial terrain. This driftless area features steep dolomite bluffs, deep valleys, hidden hill prairies, and rocky outcrops that look more like Wisconsin than Illinois. Because glaciers never scraped this region flat, rare species like timber rattlesnakes and cliff-dwelling plants still survive here. Illinois' highest natural point, Charles Mound, sits in this unglaciated zone for the same reason. The ice simply couldn't grind it down. These pockets show what all of Illinois once looked like before glaciers turned the northern two-thirds into a flat, uniform plain. Fact 33. Illinois' alien state fossil. Illinois' official state fossil is so bizarre that scientists debated its identity for decades. Meet the Tully monster, a soft-bodied, foot-long creature with stalked eyes, a long trunk, and a claw-like mouth at the end. It looks like something a sci-fi illustrator dreamed up at 3 a.m.
Now I gotta say, that's the first I ever seen of the Tully monster. That doesn't mean anything. It just means I never seen this motherfucker before. Now there are cliffs down here that I know of. I can go to right now, and they're not very far from me. The Little Grand Canyon is literally in my backyard, which you guys probably don't even know what the Little Grand Canyon is. But I mean, if you know what the Grand Canyon is, so obviously you can imagine what the Little Grand Canyon is. And you can walk up to the cliff face, and there's coral fossils all throughout it. I mean, just everywhere. And I always said there had to be some kind of inland sea, and according to this video, they believe that too. It's a fish of some sort. It's not. It's. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't fucking know. Yes, Vicky. He had a great birthday. Like he got to have his birthday for 2 days. He said, because Friday was actually his birthday, and he and I stayed home all day and hung out. Basically, just wrestled all day. That's all he wanted to do. But then yesterday we had his party, and he got to, like, my old lady's family was here, my family was here, so he was overstimulated at the least, like he was going hard. I had all his cousins here. They were having a great time. Great time. He had a Fortnite birthday party. That's what he wanted, so that's what he got. Anyway, we'll get back to this video. I don't know what a Tully monster is. Never seen one till now.
Yeah, but it's real, and it's only found in Illinois. The fossils come from the Maison Creek beds, where ironstone preserved these strange animals from 300 million years ago. Experts now think the Tully monster was a primitive chordate, animals with a flexible rod supporting their dorsal or backsides. But its anatomy is so unusual that classification is still debated. It became the state fossil because it's uniquely, unmistakably Illinois, a prehistoric oddity that exists nowhere else on Earth. Fact 32. Illinois' ancient rainforest under your feet. Illinois' coal seams aren't just rock. They're the compressed remains of a massive tropical rainforest. During the Carboniferous period, about 300 million years ago, Illinois sat near the equator, blanketed by steaming swamps filled with giant ferns and club moss trees over 100 feet tall. When these massive jungles died, they were buried and transformed into coal. In some mines, workers even discovered entire fossilized forests preserved on the ceilings. Trunks, branches, bark, and leaves flattened like a prehistoric mural. Paleontologists compare it to a coal age Pompeii. Every lump of coal is sunlight capped.
Hey, any coal miners in the chat? Well, we only got like 5 people in here, but still, I'd like to know if that's accurate or not. We have a lot of coal mines around here. I should ask one of my. Yeah. I'll find out if that's true or not. Which I wouldn't guess it would be untrue. But I just had never heard anything about that before. Don't mean anything. Don't mean anything at all. Hey, I've heard of them finding. Oh man, what do they call them? They're like a rock, and they bust them open, and they got all kinds of crystal on the inside. Man, what are those things called? Anyway, they find those in the coal mines all the time. Evidently, Illinois was a big fluorite deposit, which I didn't know that till I watched this either.
By equatorial plants from hundreds of millions of years ago, preserved beneath Illinois as black rock. Fact 31. Illinois is still earthquake country. Illinois seems geologically calm, but the southern part of the state sits on two active fault systems, the New Madrid and Wabash Valley seismic zones. These faults produced massive earthquakes in the early 1800s, and they're still capable of major events today. In 2008, a magnitude 5.2 quake near Mount Carmel rattled buildings as far away as Chicago, Illinois' strongest quake in 40 years. Geologists estimate a 25 to 40% chance of a magnitude 6 plus earthquake happening in the next 50 years. Schools in southern Illinois routinely practice earthquake drills because the threat is real. The state looks peaceful on the surface, but deep underground, the crust is still shifting, silently preparing the next big jolt. Fact 30. A lake that could drown a state. Illinois only touches a sliver of Lake Michigan, but that sliver belongs to a true inland ocean. The lake holds an absurd 1,180 cubic miles of water, enough to submerge the entire state of Illinois under 100 feet of water. During storms, Lake Michigan's waves rival ocean surf, and its deepest point is so deep you could drop Chicago's Willis Tower in upright and never see the top again. Its sheer size warps the climate of Northeast Illinois, cooling summers, warming winters, and fueling lake effect snow. The Great Lakes might look like just lakes, but in scale and behavior, they're oceanic. And Illinois sits at the edge of one of Earth's largest bodies of fresh water. Fact 29. The Ice Age glacier that made Illinois and took its name. One of North America's major glacial periods is literally named after Illinois. Around 300,000 years ago, the Illinoisan glaciation pushed massive ice sheets farther south than almost any other Ice Age event, reaching as far as modern-day Carbondale, just shy of the Mississippi River. These glaciers flattened northern Illinois.
Now, modern-day Carbondale is about as close as you'll get where I live. I don't think my town will never be mentioned because it's such a little town, but it is right outside of Carbondale, Illinois. I'm not sure why they called it modern day Carbondale. What was the old Carbondale in a different location or something? That could be, I guess. Murfreesboro didn't always start out where it's at now. Like if you know anything about this area, Grand Tower, which sits right on the Mississippi River, is where Murfreesboro originally was started out to be until it got flooded. And then they moved it to where we're at now, which is up like a lot high, like very high, much higher than, I don't know what the fuck the altitude or we sit on a hill now. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this down. I can actually talk over the video.
Carved lowlands and left behind the rich black soils that define the state today. The old Illinoisan boundary is still visible on geologic maps. To the north lie younger glacial deposits. To the south, rugged pre-glacial hills the ice never touched. Illinois wasn't just shaped by the Ice Age. It was such a defining location that it gave the ice its name. Fact 28. The Grand Canyon beneath the cornfields. Underneath the perfectly flat cornfields of central Illinois hides a canyon so huge it's called the Mahomet Bedrock Valley, a buried gorge rivaling major river systems. This ancient valley stretches 120 miles and drops 300 feet deep, carved long before glaciers existed. When the Ice Age arrived, glaciers filled the entire canyon with sand and gravel, sealing it from view. Today, you drive over it without ever knowing. Under the surface lies a massive water-filled world, one of the largest aquifers in the Midwest, storing trillions of gallons of groundwater. Illinois may look flat, but a hidden canyon system lies quietly below the prairie, completely entombed, yet still shaping modern life. Fact 27. Waterfalls in flatland. Illinois isn't known for waterfalls, but it should be.
Super Bob, that
Southern
sounded
Illinois
like
hides
Gorm.
cascades that reach 60 to 100 feet, especially after heavy rain.
But if
Burton
you're
Falls in Shawnee National Forest
towards the
drops
Golden
around
Knight
20
Cross,
feet
then
in
I
a single
wouldn't
free fall
imagine.
before tumbling down nearly 80 more feet of rocky rapids. Nearby Packentuck Falls flexes Illinois' biggest sheer drop at over 60 feet. In spring, these waterfalls roar like something from the Appalachians.
Gorm
In
has
dry
a
summers, they
population
shrink
of
to calm
100.
trickles or disappear completely. Even road cuts and bluffs erupt with temporary waterfalls during storms. Flat as Illinois seems, the state hides pockets of rugged, water-carved terrain that erupt to life whenever the rain comes back. Fact 26. The Ice Age's hanging waterfalls. The Kankakee Torrent, the mega flood that ripped through Illinois 19,000 years ago, left a strange footprint on the land. Hanging waterfalls. When the flood carved the Kankakee and Illinois river valleys incredibly deep, smaller tributary streams couldn't erode downward fast enough. The result? They remained perched above the new valley floor, spilling over cliffs in mini cascades. At Rock Creek in Kankakee River State Park, a peaceful prairie stream suddenly drops over an intense waterfall because the main gorge sits far deeper than it naturally should. These falls look like something from a mountain state, but they're really the lingering scars of a catastrophic flood that reshaped Illinois in days. Fact 25. Chicago's ancient coral reef. Chicago sits on top of something few major cities can claim, a 425 million year old tropical coral reef. During the Silurian period, Illinois was covered by a warm, shallow sea filled with corals, crinoids, and brachiopods. When the sea vanished, it left behind thick layers of fossil-rich limestone, the same Niagara limestone quarried throughout the Chicago suburbs. The best place to see it? The massive Thornton Quarry, a 90-meter deep exposure of an ancient reef system that ranks among the largest Silurian reef outcrops on Earth. Drive across the I-80 bridge and look down. Those perfectly banded rock walls are the cross-sections of a prehistoric coral atoll. Chicago isn't just built on rock, it's built on an extinct tropical paradise. Fact 24. Illinois' coastal wilderness. Illinois Beach State Park protects the last untouched stretch of Lake Michigan's shoreline in the state. A wild 6.5-mile corridor of dunes, swales, oak savanna, and rare coastal wetlands.
Now, I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what that thing was. I never seen one. Could it be a Loch Ness monster? I don't know, because look, that fossil did not look very big. I'm thinking it's more kind of like Nuggy was saying, like leech size. Maybe it's I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. Maybe it was a baby. Maybe it was still in an egg or something. That's why it was in that rock shaped like that. Because they said it was an iron deposit. So maybe that was a sack and it turned to iron around that creature. I don't know. And I don't know nothing about no Loch Ness monsters or sea creatures. I never seen none of them either. But I have seen some of these corals they're talking about, and I've seen them down south, not up north. Like I know where some caves are just right around here. They've got, you know, like ancient markings in them and shit. Like, you know, like we got a set of bluffs down here that's got. I mean, I don't know. There's just there's a lot of history here. A lot of it that people have done forgot about. Like, you know, beyond the Indian times too, right? Like, because there's a lot of Indian artifacts around this area, like a lot, from top to bottom of the state.
This land is a living snapshot of the Great Lakes right after the Ice Age. Its rolling dunes host prickly pear cactus. Its marshes harbor carnivorous plants and rare orchids, and more than 650 plant species grow here, including endangered dune willow and the Ohio goldenrod. Walk through the park and you move from beach to desert-like hollows to swamp forest within minutes. It's easily one of the most biodiverse places in the Midwest. a coastal wilderness hiding in plain sight just north of Chicago. Fact 23, an underground wonderland. Southern Illinois doesn't just have sinkholes. It has an entire underground world under them. The region contains a sprawling cave network, including Fogle Pole Cave, a labyrinth more than 15 miles long, making it the longest cave in Illinois and one of the top 60 longest in the US. Its chambers drip with stalactites, house colonies of bats, and shelter creatures like blind cavefish, salamanders, and ghostly white crayfish. Nearby Illinois Caverns, now a state park, is home to one of the richest collections of cave-adapted species in the Midwest. Together, these caves form Illinois' own subterranean Ozarks, a dark, dripping wilderness hidden under farmland and forests. Fact 22, moraines, Illinois' invisible mountains. Illinois looks flat, but nearly every gentle rise you drive over, every subtle ridge on the horizon, is actually glacial moraine. These long, curving ridges were dumped 16,000 years ago when the last glaciers stalled and melted, leaving behind enormous piles of rock, gravel, and soil. They stretch for miles across the land, often reaching 50 to 100 feet high, but so gradually that most people don't even notice them. Many counties list their highest point on one of these moraines. Seen from above, they appear as long, tree-covered belts cutting across farmland. They're Illinois' hidden mountain ranges. Not huge, not towering, but unmistakable relics of the Ice Age sculpting the land. Fact 21, where America's great rivers converge. Illinois sits at one of the most important river crossroads in North America. At Grafton, the Mississippi, Missouri, and Illinois rivers meet in an outrageous tri-confluence surrounded by towering limestone bluffs. Farther south in Cairo, the mighty Ohio River joins the Mississippi, and emerging so massive early explorers called it the meeting of the great rivers. Together, these systems drain over 40% of the continental United States, sending water from the Appalachians, Great Plains, Rockies, and Great Lakes straight past Illinois. Barges from Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Montana, and beyond all funnel through this narrow corridor. Tiny river towns sit beside one of the busiest, most important freshwater junctions on the planet. Fact 20, a continental divide you can walk across. Most continental divides are towering mountain chains. Illinois is a half-submerged swamp. The Chicago Portage is one of the lowest continental divides on Earth, only about 600 feet above sea level. And it's so subtle you could cross it without realizing you just sent water to two different oceans. A raindrop falling on one side eventually reaches the Gulf through the Mississippi. A drop a few blocks away flows to the Atlantic via Lake Michigan and the St. Lawrence Seaway. This tiny ridge was the original shortcut Native Americans used to link the two great water systems of North America, and the entire reason Chicago became a global city, the continent's easiest portage. Fact 19, from scorching heat to Arctic cold. Illinois might have the most chaotic weather identity in the country. The state's record high is 117 degrees Fahrenheit in East St. Louis, and its record low is negative 38 degrees Fahrenheit in Mount Carroll, an absurd 155-degree swing. Summers can feel downright tropical, with humidity so intense that cornfields actually amplify the heat by releasing moisture into the air. Winters, meanwhile, have produced polar vortex events that pushed wind chills near negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit in Chicago, conditions more typical of northern Canada. Few places on Earth swing from desert-level heat to Arctic cold, while millions of people live through it every year. Illinoisans essentially experience Florida and Alaska in the same calendar year, sometimes in the same month. Fact 18, wild and sick. Illinois?
What's up, Nud?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, nothing. I watched this video this morning and was like, you know what? If I'm learning something from this video, I bet other people that don't even know about Illinois could probably learn.
I don't.
Something.
I ain't gonna lie. I've been sitting here listening to it.
Like, when I say diverse, I mean this gives you a full spectrum of how diverse it really is around here.
Right.
Like, there's so much. Like, Illinois really has a lot of shit to do here. Like, if you like nature, this is like, I'm gonna go look for them sand dunes now for that desert. I didn't know we had a desert, for real.
Yeah, I had no idea either, honestly.
And
being
then
that it's like literally connected to Kentucky, like he's just
right,
a desert, really?
I know. And then like later on in the video, you'll see that down south, down here where I'm at, a little farther south than me, but there's a lot of mining stuff that I had no idea went on here.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
mean, I'd like to go check
Bob's
some of that out.
I don't know his exact address, but Bob is like he's Southern Illinois too.
Yeah, and yeah, Bob, it's legal here. That's right. It's recreationally legal here. Like it's legal. It's not. I mean, I'll tell you the worst thing about this place is the taxes. That
What's
is
your
the
all's
worst.
tax rate?
I don't know. I don't know the number. I just know that it's too much.
Right.
I know I pay taxes. I mean, if there's something to pay taxes on in the state of Illinois, by goodness, you pay. If you're a homeowner, you're paying it.
Right.
You know, you pay a county, a city. I pay for two schools that two colleges that ain't even in my town. Like it's yeah, they
What's
get
your
you.
all sales tax? Do you know?
I have no idea, bro.
Well, let's look it up then. How about that?
Yeah, see, I don't
What
keep up with any of
is
that shit. I just give
going
them their money and go on. He said he ain't afraid to show. Okay, okay,
Oh
I
shit,
see.
you're all sales tax ain't bad at all.
McClure, that's right. That's not too far at all. That's just
Six
south of
point
me.
6.25% for general merchandise.
Well, look up the cost of living around here.
All right.
Not so bad here, but the farther north you go, it is. I'd say the biggest fuss around here too is we catch a lot of the northern part of the states bullshit. So
Um,
just leave it at that.
it says the cost of living in Illinois is generally moderate, but varies significantly, with Chicago being much more expensive, while areas like Peoria, Rockford, Springfield offer much lower cost.
Which is all central. That's not like like Peoria and
It seems like the further north you get, the more expensive it is.
yes, yes, yes. But nonetheless, we still don't get the proper taxing down here because of up there.
Yeah,
Yes,
it says
Bob. North is
Chicago
more blue, south is more red. You are correct about that.
for a one bedroom apartment in Chicago, $2,200 a month.
It doesn't even sound feasible.
No. And then Peoria, 825, Carbondale, 870.
Yeah, see that's quite expensive for a one bedroom.
Yeah, hell yeah. 500 bucks a month just in utilities up north.
What was that?
500 bucks a month for utilities
No, that's not true. I spend
for,
over
for
that in electricity a month.
oh really? Well, this says just for a single person.
Possibly, I guess.
For
Because
a
I do
one
like
bedroom
that.
apartment for a single person, it's going to be around 500 bucks a month.
See, look what Super Bob's saying. 400 a month, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath. You got to get away from Carbondale. Carbondale is the college town. It's they're gonna hit you with the higher prices because they got college students there that'll pay it because they're going to college.
Who's in Carbondale?
Huh? No,
Who's in Carbondale?
you mentioned the
Oh,
price.
I mentioned. I got you. I got you. I got
And
you.
Carbondale is local here. Like that's our, outside of Marion, that's our quote unquote big city, which it ain't big. It's bigger than the surrounding towns.
Yeah, but Bob, see, that's not rent. Yours is mortgage, so that's different.
No, it's not really because you
It
could
is.
find something right around that same price for the
Well,
same
yeah, probably,
exactly
yeah.
like for rent wise, it may all right, we might, for something like what he's talking about, depending on how nice and where it's located, you might be looking at $575 maybe a month
Right.
if you're renting.
Well,
But
I may be there next year.
well, the offer's still there.
I'm gonna get through my fuckery and then figure it out.
My bad. Well, here we'll get back into this video. Bob said he has shoddy credit, and still, that's what he came out with. Nugget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Illinois isn't famous for pristine rivers, but it has exactly one that earned the federal Wild and Scenic River designation, the Middle Fork of the Vermilion River. This emerald green stretch cuts through 75-foot sandstone bluffs, gravel bars, and shady sycamore corridors that look nothing like the flat farmland surrounding them. The river flows freely with no dams, a rarity in Illinois, and its clean waters host otters, great blue herons, and endangered mussel species. To reach some sections, you bushwhack through shoulder-high plants and spider-laced branches just to find a launch point. For paddlers who make...
Hey, I just gotta say something too, man. There's always that you ain't country shit going around in the genre. I just want to point something out.
No, I know exactly where you're going.
I've been called a northerner so many times as if that's an insult, right? Okay. I guess because I don't live in the South, I don't find that offensive. If you are talking about all the way back to Civil War, well then that's a you problem. That's not a me problem, okay? I'm not a northerner, I'm me, okay? And you are you. You live in the southern part of the states and I don't. But I live in the southern part of my state. And if farming don't make you country, I don't know what the fuck does, right?
Right.
And our whole state is based around corn, soybeans. Now I'm not here to convince nobody because I don't give a fuck. But at the same time, I just hear it so much, right? Like, shut up, you're a northerner. Like,
any state that's that flat, dude, is a farming state. You know what I mean? It's just like Indiana. It's all farming. And it's flat as fuck.
Yeah.
So why people think north, south, east, west makes you fucking whatever, south makes you country. Dude, there's country all over this country. Like, what are you talking about?
That's facts.
You know what I mean? It's fucking weird, dude.
Every state has a section that is fucking country, bro. It's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what state you go to, you're gonna find a section of upper class, middle class, lower class. You're gonna find people who have country roots, and you're gonna find people who don't have country roots. It just didn't come from that, right? They just didn't. They grew up in the suburbs. They never knew what it was like to be out on the river.
That's the thing. Like, even like here in Kentucky, if I go down way south, dude, and into the country, you're gonna find suburbs in that country area that people just aren't country. Like, they don't do country shit. Like, it's fucking. I don't know. It's just weird to me, dude.
A lot of people from the city will buy places down here to get away from the fucking city. Exactly. Yes, exactly, and not have to travel.
Does that make them country? I mean, like,
it makes
weird.
It makes you whatever you want, man. Like,
I know
the label shit is weird, for real.
Yeah,
it's like, who cares, right? Like, is that insecurities, your jealousy coming out that you're gonna try to shame somebody for where they live? Come on,
Well, that's just
man.
like with me, dude. I grew up, or not grew. I say I was born in the city. All right, but every weekend of my childhood, I was in the country. That's what I did. That's what my parents took me to. You know, we had a farm. You know what I mean? Like that's where we went.
That's where I grew up. That's where I lived. So to me, it's strange. Like I didn't get out of the country till I got older, till I became a
Right.
teenager. Then I didn't, I was like, I didn't want nothing to do with the country. But then I got older and realized, man, I didn't get so much trouble in the country now, did I? But I still don't live in the country. I live on the main road in my town. But my
Right.
town is pretty fucking country.
It's urban. Yeah, it's a little small urban, like rural town, dude. You know what I mean?
It definitely is. And Bob, I'm sure he knows where Murfreesboro is. I'm sure, this is the home of the Big Muddy Monster, y'all. This is the sighting. There was a sighting here at the Big Muddy River, down at the Riverside Park in Murfreesboro. We are the home of the Big Muddy Brewery. We got that Big Muddy Monster root beer. You ain't ever taste no root beer till you taste the Big Muddy. I ain't even fucking with y'all. It tastes different. It's made with real honey. Well, anyway, let's get back to this video.
I'm more countryer than you.
All right. You can be more countryer than me, but I know where Brewster's testicles are located, and 90% of the people on in this genre had no idea what I was talking about. So how the hell does that make anybody more country than me?
The journey, the Middle Fork, a hidden wilderness, a wild pocket of river in a state better known for straight lines and levees. Fact 17, Illinois' dust-built hills. Western Illinois hides an environment built not by water or glaciers, but by dust storms, massive ones. During the last ice age, winds lifted fine glacial flour from dry riverbeds and dumped it in thick layers along the Mississippi and Illinois River valleys. The result is the region's hills, towering 30-foot thick blankets of wind-blown silt. The soil is incredibly fertile, some of the best farmland on Earth, but also extremely unstable, prone to sudden landslides after heavy rain. The hills are a strange paradox. They produced Illinois' agricultural wealth, yet began as Sahara-style dust storms roaring across an ice age prairie. In a way, Illinois' richest farms were born from ancient atmospheric chaos. Fact 16, Chicago's ghost shorelines. Many of Chicago's hills aren't hills at all. They're ancient shorelines. After the Ice Age, glacial Lake Chicago was much larger than modern Lake Michigan, sitting about 20 feet higher and stretching far inland. As waves crashed along its edge, they built long ridges of sand and gravel that later became Chicago's modern streets and neighborhoods. Roads like Ridge Avenue literally follow these old beach dunes. In places like Elgin and the northern suburbs, you can still see elevated gravel bars that were once offshore islands. Chicago is essentially built on the remains of a vanished lake, and every subtle rise beneath your feet is the ghost of a shoreline from 8,000 years ago, a sandy memory trapped in the city grid. Fact 15, the blackest, richest soil on Earth. Illinois' farm power comes from something hidden in plain sight, jet black prairie soil. The state's official soil, Drummer's silty clay loam, contains a 16-inch layer of organic matter so dark and nutrient-dense that early settlers called it black velvet. This wasn't deposited by rivers. It was built grain by grain as prairie grasses grew, died, and decomposed for thousands of years. The result was topsoil so carbon-rich that some acres once held over 10,000 pounds of organic matter per square foot. It's basically nature's perfect compost. Although erosion has stripped much of it away since settlement, Illinois still has some of the most productive.
No, yeah, I'm telling you, you would like Illinois.
I knew they had crazy soil, but like,
and that crazy soil they're talking about is about 10-minute drive from my house. Just head on down to the bottoms, head to the river. And
right.
It flattens out. You like after you drop down off the bluff, it flattens out to a bunch of farmland along the river. And I'm telling you, it is some of the best soil Also, there's a natural spring that comes out there on Route 3, and it comes right out of the bluff. And some of the best garden water this side of the Mississippi.
Of soil on Earth, a literal remnant of the ancient tallgrass prairie. Fact 14, Oxbow Lake, as big as a bayou. Just across from St. Louis sits Horseshoe Lake, a 2,400-acre oxbow lake so swampy you'd swear you were in Louisiana. Formed when the Mississippi
I ain't never
abandoned
shoot
one
no
of its giant
jukebox, rock,
meanders.
rock
This
one.
crescent lake is shallow, only 3 to 4 feet deep, but bursting with life. Lotus blooms, cattails, and swamp timber straight out of the deep south. Spanish moss hangs from the trees. And during migration season, tens of thousands of ducks and geese blanket the water. It's Illinois' second largest natural lake, created entirely by the Mississippi River deciding to redraw its own path. One look at its bayou-like curves and you immediately understand why oxbows are considered the fingerprints of a wild river. Fact 13, dunes by the inland sea. Remember Illinois Beach State Park? It hides a dune system so intense it feels like a mini Outer Banks grafted onto Lake Michigan. Waves and wind sculpted these ridges over thousands of years, building 30-foot dunes with wet swales between them. Those swales host rare orchids and carnivorous plants, while the dunes themselves support prickly pear cactus, and even six-lined race runner lizards, a Great Plains species surviving in this isolated pocket. These dunes are alive, literally migrating as wind, storm surges, and vegetation patterns shift. Walk from beach grass to cactus to swamp in minutes as you realize Illinois' shoreline is less Midwest and more a weird freshwater hybrid of desert, forest, and coast. Fact 12. When Illinois was an oceanfront, 70 million years ago, Illinois had a coastline, and not just any coastline, but the western shore of the Western Interior Seaway, the giant ocean that once split North America in two. While dinosaurs roamed the Great Plains, southern Illinois was a steamy tropical coastline with lagoons, shallow bays, and sandy beaches. Marine fossils and ancient beach sediments in extreme southern Illinois prove the shoreline reached this far east. Wells tapping.
All right, Bob, have you found anything like that? I have never found anything like. Now you see that Spyro thing right there? That I don't know what that fucking thing is, but I have found those. Not no shark teeth, not no, and I've seen imprints of seashells in the cliffside, but I've never picked at them or anything like that. Now, when you walk up next to the cliff, if you look at the ground, there's a whole bunch of sediment that has come off of the cliff face, and there's all type of fossils down in there. Has China been shipping soil? That's right. Hey, can you imagine that maybe a dinosaur was walking on the same riverbanks that we are?
Well, isn't that where Miracle Grow soil comes from?
I do not know. I do not know.
For some
But
reason, I feel like
ocean,
I've heard
that ocean grown, I can see where they got the idea for ocean grown. You know, Fox Farms ocean grown soil. Dinosaur poop.
The Owl Creek Formation pull up shark teeth, shells, and sediment laid down when giant mosasaurs cruised through waters where cornfields now grow. Illinois wasn't just underwater, it was beachfront real estate during the late Cretaceous. Fact 11, waterfalls and canyons in Little Egypt. Again, Illinois is famously flat, except for the part that absolutely isn't. In southern Illinois, the sandstone canyons of Little Egypt hide some of the state's most insane waterfalls. Burden Falls drops nearly 100 feet through fern-lined cliffs. Jackson Falls pours into a box canyon popular with rock climbers. Bell Smith Springs features turquoise pools, natural stone bridges, and mossy walls carved over millions of years. These features exist because the region's tough Pennsylvanian sandstone resisted erosion, forcing streams to carve deep gorges and steep ledges. In winter, the waterfalls freeze into towering blue-white ice columns. It's a rugged, water-sculpted world tucked inside a state most people think is flat. Fact 10: towering palisades on the Mississippi. In far northwestern Illinois, the Mississippi River squeezes between 200-foot dolomite cliffs known as the Mississippi Palisades. Sheer rock walls rising straight from the water like Midwestern fjords. These bluffs once served as lookout points for Native American nations, and today they host peregrine falcons, rare cliff-dwelling plants, and caves rumored to have sheltered 1800s river pirates. The cliffs themselves are ancient Silurian reef rock, carved into vertical ramparts by millions of years of erosion. Visit in fall and the whole thing ignites with orange and red foliage, towering over the wide Mississippi with Iowa visible across the channel. One look and the idea of flat Illinois dissolves instantly. Fact 9.
Some of it
life
comes
in
from
the underworld.
Illinois.
Go down in
It says some of it comes from Illinois. It's not like they use their forest products, basically. You're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, thanks. I was. Hey, Chaotic, what's up, buddy?
Morning,
He
Chaotic.
said, Chaotic says, dinosaur and mud monster poop combined makes mudosaur poop, aka Miracle Grow, Nuggy.
Yeah.
That was good, dude. That was good.
But they do use some of the forest products from Illinois, but it comes from all over.
All right, dude. That makes more sense now that you would say that. I could see that happening because they don't have any fertile soil over there either. And yes, I mean, it is. I mean, it's always been known to be some of the best soil around. And see, I'm not even a soil grower.
Yeah. Well, and actually, in actuality, Miracle Grow contains like very, very little actual soil.
Right.
It's all forest composite.
Synthetic.
Well, it's all forest composite shit, like where it's been sitting for years, like leaves and just
I
the
got you.
forest coming down on the ground and
Yeah,
decomposing, and you know what I mean. That's what they use.
I
Big
got you.
Six, what up, buddy?
Hey, Bob, have you ever been to Inspiration Point? That's a pretty popular place in this area. What's up, Big Six? Good morning to you, big dog. Gumbo mud is great for mud parties. You ain't lying, bro. Killings Ditch, you know where that's at? I mean, that is right on the Mississippi River. Good times have been had there. 4-wheel drives, little gumbo mud.
How do you
Might get
4-wheel drive in Illinois though? Like, there's no hills and shit, really.
what?
It's real flat.
So 4-wheel driving's only climbing hills to you? Because we
No,
got
but
some, listen, we got some mud
like
holes
mud
down here.
bogs, like well, 4-wheel driving and mud bogs and shit. That's different to me.
No, okay. Well, what's different? The terrain?
Well, yeah, I mean, like
We got, but here's the thing. Once you leave the river,
not different. I should have said different, but
it's all hills, bub.
oh, is this?
We can head right on up to Buttermilk Hill, and it's some of the steepest hill climbing you've ever gotten into.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't
When
know
I
that.
say it's diverse around here, it's diverse. I prefer to go down to the river and fuck around in the mud holes and start a bonfire and have some music going and maybe a few drinks of moonshine, a whole bunch of marijuana smoked. And that's what I call a good time. Now, when you get to doing that up in the hills, people wreck and they tumble down the hills and people get hurt and shit gets tore up. And
That's the best part.
see, that ain't what I'm out there for. I'm out there to actually
I
have
get it.
fun.
I get it. That is fun to me, though.
Well, getting hurt is not fun to me. I'm
Well,
old.
yeah, no.
It
Getting
takes me
hurt,
a
no.
long time to recover. My family
I get
depends
that.
on my
Same
income.
here. Same here.
So I have to be an adult while I do this stuff. And besides that, I want to give my children, I want to give them a good example. I don't want to, we can crack. They know I'm crazy. So I don't need to show them how to wreck shit, right?
Right. I get it. I get it.
Now, they love to just get in, strap off, and hit the biggest mud hole we can hit. And let me tell you, sometimes, like, I got them farm implement tires on my Samurai. I get that sucker up into third gear before we hit the mud hole. There's a good chance we're just going to skip across the top. But when that happens, you get to going every which way. You can't, I mean, my kids think it's some kind of circus ride.
Yep.
Good times have been had. That's all I can say. Good times down at the river. And I'm telling you, man, there's mud holes that'll swallow your truck.
That's what Bob just said. He's like, we
Yeah.
lose Jeeps.
He says,
There
I'm
are
driving.
some here in Kentucky like that.
What kind of VW Beetle you driving, Bob? I got VW Beetles too, Bubba. Good morning,
His ain't
Ryan.
diesel.
Huh?
His isn't diesel.
I have some that are not diesel too. No, yeah, I have air cooled. I have a
Dude.
67 Volkswagen Beetle rat rod.
Well, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, I forgot about that actually.
I used to have a lot more Beetles too. But, you know, lessons learned. Don't ever go into partnerships with people when money's involved, because it don't always work out.
With what? What'd you do? I didn't hear you.
I ran an air-cooled Volkswagen shop, right, with a buddy of mine where we
yeah.
restored old air-cooled Volkswagens. And then we'd trade them off or sell them or drive.
Right.
Hell, I'd drive them around too. I always plated them up and drove them around. Take them to car shows and, you know, just doing the thing.
Right.
Kind of having fun with it until it wasn't fun no more. Till you go get a bank statement and there's a bunch of money missing and there's no explanation.
Yeah, that's never a good thing.
Bob says he got a 2007 new Beetle 2.5 5-cylinder. Is that a turbo? You see, I used to have me one, a blue one, a little 5-speed turbo gasoline. What year was that son of a bitch?
I don't think his is turbo, but it could be.
This is the one, it had the spoiler would come up after 55 mile an hour. Spoiler would automatically come out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hey, man, the little bastard wasn't no joke, man. I ain't shitting you. At 3,500 RPM, the turbo would kick in and kick you back in the seat. Now we have a Jetta, a TDI Jetta. That's what the wife drives.
Yeah.
And then I got a Nissan truck, but my 67 Volkswagen, I still have no turbo. Okay, just the 2.0. Mine was the 2.0 with the turbo.
Bob will use that thing like a truck. It's funny. I mean, I did the same shit with my Impala.
So did I. Hey, I did the same. I take it. I do burnouts in it. I mean, it was just a little shit box to me.
I had 9 sheets of drywall on top of my fucking Impala.
That's what's up. Hey, I ain't even shitting you, man. In high school, I had a little Toyota Tercel hatchback, and my mom needed this couch taken to her house. She bought it at a resale shop in town, and she had no way to transport it. And me and my buddies put it on top of the car, and we tied that sucker off. And I got up there and sat on the couch, laid on the couch while they drove it so that it wasn't wobbling around. Like, you do what you got to do when you got to do it with what you got. Just make it work. Hey, let's see what else they got to say. I don't think we got much of this left.
To an Illinois cave, and you enter an ecosystem that might as well be extraterrestrial. The state's cave networks, especially in the Sinkhole Plain, host creatures found nowhere else on Earth. Blind cavefish navigating by touch, translucent amphipods, bright orange cave salamanders, tricolored bats, and insects so adapted to darkness that they've lost their eyes and pigmentation entirely. Some species have evolved underground for so long that sunlight is literally fatal to them. Illinois caverns and nearby systems form one of the most biodiverse cave ecosystems in the Midwest. Functioning like an inverted rainforest where most life thrives below the surface, it's an alien world hiding under cornfields. Fact 8, Fluorite Treasure Trove. Southern Illinois once produced more fluorite than anywhere else in America, and what miners found underground was astonishing. Pockets lined with soccer ball-sized violet crystals sparkling in the dark. Fluorite, Illinois' official state mineral, forms perfect geometric cubes that range in color from neon purple to blue, green, and even rainbow hues. The Illinois-Kentucky fluorspar district supplied steel mills across the country, with mines in Hardin and Pope counties plunging over 1,000 feet underground. Much of this mineral wealth traces back to the volcanic activity around Hicks Dome. Imagine descending a mine shaft and stepping into a chamber glowing with natural crystal geometry. Fact 7, where the ice stopped. There's an invisible line across Illinois where the entire land changes in minutes. Cross the glacial boundary, from roughly Peoria to Carlinville, and pancake flat farmland suddenly turns into rolling hills, steep bluffs, and hardwood forests. To the north, young glacial deposits smoothed by ice. To the south, rugged terrain the glaciers never touched. In places like Jackson and Union counties, cornfields give way to oak hickory ridges and limestone cliffs that are actually eroded remnants of the ancient Appalachians. Travel south across this line and you're stepping into a preserved fragment of the pre-Ice Age Midwest, a land that survived untouched while the glaciers bulldozed everything above it. Fact 6, glass sand capital. Ottawa, Illinois sits on top of one of the purest silica sand deposits on Earth, the St. Peter Sandstone. Over 99.5% pure silica is so uniform and clean that it's ideal.
Did they say silicon? Is that why I'm so commonly used to handling silicon? Didn't even know it, right? Had no idea silicon was a main staple of Illinois. That's wild. I'm pretty sure they say it's like some of the purest found. Like a lot of it's used for screens on your phone.
I guess that's why you always make silicon your bitch.
That's what I was getting at. Like I didn't even realize that's why I could handle the silicon so easy. No, I shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't be, but
it was when I heard it, I was like,
an easy shot.
Right, it was. I shouldn't take this though.
For high-quality glass, from early mason jars to modern laboratory beakers and smartphone screens. Ottawa hosts the largest silica sand mine in North America, shipping more than 2 million tons a year. These sands began as beaches in an Ordovician sea 450 million years ago. Then were buried and naturally refined by geologic processes. And demand is exploding. North America's silica market was valued at $7.3 billion in 2024 and is projected to hit $13.3 billion by 2033. Illinois is literally sitting on digital age gold. Fact 5, the town that vanished. What do you do when the Mississippi River wipes your town off the map? If you're Valmeyer, Illinois, you move the entire town. After the catastrophic 1993 flood submerged Valmeyer under more than 15 feet of water, residents made a wild decision. Relocate the whole community 2 miles away and 400 feet higher. Houses, churches, businesses, and even cemeteries were rebuilt on safe bluffs above the floodplain. Today, new Valmeyer thrives on high ground, while the old town sits abandoned, a ghost grid of foundations visible only when river levels drop. It's one of the most insane climate adaptation stories in U.S. history. Sometimes, the only way to survive a river is to retreat from it. Fact 4, Kettle Lakes and Ghost Ice. Northern Illinois is dotted with lakes created by literal chunks of dead glacier. When the Wisconsin Glacier retreated 14,000 years ago, giant blocks of ice broke off, got buried in sediment, and melted slowly over centuries. And as each block disappeared, it left behind a water-filled depression called a kettle lake. The Chano Lakes region is the best living example, a maze of shallow lakes connected by channels and surrounded by wild rice marshes. Even Volo Bog began as a kettle lake before filling with moss and turning into a quaking bog. Every shimmering basin in this region is a footprint of ice that vanished long ago, leaving blue water where frozen blocks once sat. Fact 3. America's ancient Nile. The American Bottom in southwestern Illinois is a massive Mississippi floodplain, up to 10 miles wide and nearly 80 miles long, that once formed one of the most productive wetlands in North America. Its rich soils supported Cahokia, a city of 20,000 people and the largest civilization north of Mexico. Early French explorers compared the region to the Nile Delta, thanks to its fertile fields, abundant wildlife, and seasonal floods. Before levees drained much of it, the bottom was a patchwork of marshes, sloughs, and oxbow lakes stretching to the horizon. Today, remnants survive in places like Horseshoe Lake State Park, ghost fragments of the ecological powerhouse that once fed a continent-scale civilization. Fact 2. Cave-In Rock, Pirates Playhouse. On the banks of the Ohio River sits Cave-In Rock, a 55-foot wide cavern carved into a towering limestone bluff, and one of the most notorious hideouts in early American history. In the late 1700s and early 1800s, river pirates, counterfeiters, and bandits used the cave to ambush flatboats floating down the river. Legends of buried loot still circulate today. The cave itself stretches over 100 feet into the rock, with a natural stone arch framing the Ohio River like a theater stage. Before the outlaws arrived, indigenous peoples used it as a shelter, and even young Abraham Lincoln passed by. High water still builds up in the cave today, making it a rare living landform still shaped by the river. Fact 1. Bald Eagle Winter Haven. Every winter, Illinois becomes one of the best bald eagle habitats in the lower 48, with thousands
you'll see a lot of them
migrating
down
to
here.
the Mississippi and
Really?
Illinois rivers.
Yep.
Open water below locks and dams creates perfect fishing
I
grounds,
think
drawing
that's
eagles
the
by the
most
hundreds to
majestic,
places
cool
like
fucking
Alton,
animal, dude.
Starved
Like,
Rock, and
oh,
Rock
so
Island.
cool.
Some winters,
mate,
counts
mate,
exceed 3,000
they mate for
eagles,
life,
turning
right?
river bluffs into
We have
giant
some that
roosting
live here.
platforms dotted with massive silhouettes.
Oh, really?
The combination
Yeah,
of
you
open
can go
water
down
and
the
high
levee
nesting
and see
cliffs
their
makes
nest,
Illinois one of
just
the
like
most
that right there.
reliable wintering spots for
Right.
America's national bird. Most people have no idea one of the continent's greatest wildlife spectacles happens quietly in corn country every January. What about 50 Kentucky geography facts that break your brain?
Let's hear them. We got to do it. I'm here in Kentucky now.
All right. Well, I think it's playing something else. Hold
It's probably some shit that I don't even know.
on. I haven't watched the Kentucky one yet either. Come on, try to get it to the end though.
Crater, or that the state might be one of the only places on Earth that's been hit by 2 cosmic impacts. How about the fact that deep underground, there's a cave so massive it could swallow New York's entire subway system? And we're still discovering new tunnels every year? Well, Kentucky isn't just bourbon and bluegrass. It's one of the most geologically insane places in America. So buckle up, because we're diving into 50 of the strangest,
I'm not
wildest,
sure, Kay.
and most
I just stumbled onto
facts
these
about
guys
Kentucky
this
that
morning.
you definitely never
There's
heard.
got to be. I
Fact
guarantee
50,
there is.
The
It
kills
looks
that
like there
hits
might be.
cities for breakfast. Mammoth Cave is by far the longest cave system in the world. With over 400 miles mapped and potentially hundreds more still hidden, it's big
I
enough
knew
to
about
swallow
that.
New York's
That's crazy.
entire subway system and still have room left over. But here's the wild part. We're still finding new tunnels every single year. This underground labyrinth was carved by acidic water slowly dissolving limestone over millions of years, creating a vertical maze of rivers, canyons, and chambers. Humans have been mapping it since the 1800s, and yet most of it remains a mystery. It's not just a cave. It's an underground world we barely understand. Fact 49, the world's longest underground swinging bridge. Deep beneath Kentucky, there's a swinging bridge, suspended hundreds of feet above an underground river in pitch black silence. Hidden River Cave is home to the longest
didn't know about
underground
that.
swinging bridge on Earth.
Yeah, Bob Nuggy
Hanging
wanted
above
to
the
see the
eerie
Kentucky
place where
one, so
2
this
subterranean
is new
rivers
for me too.
collide. You can walk across it. You can feel
I
it
don't know
move,
a lot about
but
Kentucky.
don't look down unless you're ready to stare into total blackness and rushing water below. What's even crazier? This cave was once ruined by toxic pollution and declared dead. But after massive cleanup efforts, it's been reborn as
Dude,
a
that's
museum,
wrong.
a science lab, and a thrill seeker's dream. It's part ghost story,
It's funny,
part
though.
redemption arc, and all very, very real.
He said
Fact
it's short.
48.
It's a short
5,000
video.
plus caves, and that's just the
The
start.
tree went
The
straight up.
Bluegrass State is sitting on more than 5,000 documented cave systems, one of the densest underground networks in the entire U.S. And geologists think that could just be the beginning. Thanks to all that limestone under the surface, caves are still being discovered. Some just cracks in the rock, others large enough to fit football fields. Many sit hidden under quiet farmland, forests, or even suburban backyards. You could be walking over an untouched underground canyon and never know it. It's one of the only places in the world where explorers are still discovering new continents right beneath your feet. Fact 47. Kentucky is built like Swiss cheese. Imagine living on a sponge. That's what it's like in about a quarter of Kentucky, where the ground below is riddled with holes, caves, and rivers you'll never see. This is classic karst country, a landscape where water doesn't just flow across the surface. It disappears underground, travels for miles, and then reappears in places no one expects. Entire streams vanish into the earth. Yards collapse into sinkholes overnight. Fences? Gone. Trees? Swallowed. What looks like solid ground is often anything but. It's beautiful, but it's also wildly unstable. A geological funhouse that proves the weirdest terrain isn't always on top of the earth. Fact 46. When the ground just gave up. Cedar Sink looks like someone dropped a bomb in the middle of the forest. This 7-acre crater in Mammoth Cave National Park is what happens when a cave ceiling gets too tired and collapses suddenly. The result? A 300-foot deep sinkhole with vertical walls, lush plant life, and its own microclimate. The air cools noticeably as you descend, and everything gets eerily quiet. It's a gorgeous place to hike, but also a sobering reminder that in Kentucky, the ground isn't always solid. Beneath your feet might be nothing but air, and sometimes that air turns into a pit big enough to hold a baseball stadium. Fact 45. The river that disappears into a bottomless hole. Lost River in Bowling Green doesn't act like a normal river, because it isn't. It flows for just 400 feet before plunging into a vertical pit over 430 feet deep.
I've seen that.
That's right, it's one of the shortest rivers on Earth, and also one of the deepest. The water bubbles up from a spring, drifts lazily across the surface like it's thinking about staying, then vanishes straight down into a gaping blue hole. The color is surreal. That deep, glowing sapphire you only get when light hits ultra clear, ultra deep water. It's like Kentucky said, sure, we'll have a river, but we're doing it our way. Fact 44. Kentucky cave shrimp. What's blind,
What?
see-through, and only exists in Kentucky?
What, you never had a Kentucky
cave shrimp? A
blind
tiny
shrimp?
crustacean that spent
No.
millions of years
Never even heard of
complete
them.
darkness until it basically
neither.
became a ghost. These little guys have no eyes at all because, honestly, what's the point when you live somewhere light's never reached? They're also totally translucent, which makes them look almost alien when you spot them in underground streams. Instead of seeing, they navigate by touch and smell, feeling their way around and sniffing out bits of organic matter that wash into their cave homes. They're federally endangered, which tells you just how fragile these underground ecosystems really are. Any pollution or disturbance up on the surface can mess with the hidden rivers below. Fact 43. Eyeless Mammoth Cave Crayfish. Joining the Kentucky cave shrimp in the darkness is another troglodyte, the eyeless Mammoth Cave Crayfish. These pale, ghostly
A bunch of
crustaceans
blind-ass
specialize
animals in
generations
Kentucky.
I know,
Well, just like
right?
the shrimp, why keep something you never use? They live in underground streams across Kentucky and Tennessee, feeling their way through pitch black water and sniffing out bits of food that wash down from the surface. Their bodies are so translucent you can basically see their guts through their shells. Evolution
Did he
stripped
say
them
you can
down
see their
to
nuts
just
through their
a
shell?
You can see their
They're
guts.
slow-moving scavengers
Oh.
that prove a
I was
simple
like,
point.
what?
If you live in permanent darkness long enough, eyes stop being useful and start being a waste of energy. Fact 42. Shark fossils in cave walls. Here's proof that the past is literally written in stone in Kentucky. Mammoth Cave has proven to be a hotspot for ancient shark discoveries, with multiple species new to science identified within its limestone walls. And in 2025, the most shocking yet has been revealed: fossilized teeth from an extinct shark species embedded directly in the limestone. These teeth belong to a pedalodont shark, characterized by distinctive
That's
spoon-shaped
cool
dental
as fuck.
structures that swam
Yeah.
through warm tropical seas covering Kentucky. Roughly
Watch out, they got
300
sharks in
million years
Kentucky.
ago. The shark species was
300
previously
million years
unknown
ago.
to
Like
science,
how?
identified entirely from teeth
I just
How
preserved
what?
in cave ceilings and walls.
How do they
This
even know
discovery
any of this?
proves Mammoth
300
Cave's
million years
limestone
ago.
formed
They
from
carbon
ancient
date 'em.
seabeds where prehistoric sharks hunted. Fact 41. Over
guess.
70 prehistoric fish species. We're not done with Mammoth Cave just yet, because this place truly serves as much more than just a geological wonder. It's a fossil repository containing remains from over 70 prehistoric fish species, including ancient sharks and ray-like creatures. These fossilized teeth and bone fragments prove that millions of years before the cave system formed, this region was sitting under a warm, shallow sea teeming with marine life. The limestone bedrock itself consists largely of compressed marine organism remains, effectively solidified ocean life. As you walk through Mammoth Cave passages, you're literally inside an ancient reef system that's been lifted above sea level and hollowed out by groundwater. Every surface contains microscopic fossils, and occasionally larger specimens emerge from the rock, offering tangible connections to Kentucky's submarine past, when sharks ruled these waters. Fact 40. The lake that swallowed a river and became a sea. Kentucky has more shoreline than California, and it's not a trick of geography. It's because of Kentucky Lake, a man-made giant that stretches 184 miles long and spans more than 160,000 acres. Built in 1944 by damming the Tennessee River, this artificial lake is now the largest by surface area east of the Mississippi. Its creation reshaped the entire region, drowning towns, carving new coastlines, and turning sleepy riverside communities into lakeside destinations. It generates hydroelectric power, protects against floods, and fuels an entire economy based on boating, fishing, and tourism. If you grew up here, you've only ever known this inland sea. What came before? That's now underwater history. Fact 39. Record-breaking fish. Now, not only is Kentucky Lake massive, but it's also teeming with enormous beasts. Numerous state records have been set here, including the largest white bass, buffalo carp, and yellow perch in Kentucky. The ideal environment for prize fish to grow to enormous sizes created by submerged timber, differing depths, and a strong food chain. Anglers come from all over the country trying their luck, hoping to land something worth mounting on the wall. The mix of river and reservoir ecosystems keep the fish populations healthy and thriving. For serious fishermen, Kentucky Lake is the holy grail. It's actually pretty cool that a man-made lake can support wildlife this well, sometimes even better than what nature came up with on its own. Fact 38. The Green River. The Green River might be the most unpredictable waterway in Kentucky. For 384 miles, it winds through forests and farmland, and right through the middle of Mammoth Cave National Park. It's not just scenic, it's part of how the cave formed in the first place. This river literally helped carve out the longest cave system on Earth. In some places, you can kayak under rock ceilings, drift through cathedral-sized chambers, and then burst back into daylight without warning. It's like paddling through a magic trick. One moment you're outside, the next deep underground. Few rivers anywhere flow with this much mystery. Fact 37. Red River Gorge, Arch Capital. The Red River Gorge in Daniel
that place is
National Forest
awesome.
contains over 150 natural sandstone arches, one of the
You
highest
ever been there?
concentrations of natural
Nope.
arches anywhere
No.
on Earth.
Oh,
These
maybe I'm bored,
formations,
but
which
yes.
range from little windows
Awesome.
to enormous
Man, I
bridges,
still
were
got
formed
some
over
places I need
millions
to go
of
see in
years,
Illinois,
while softer
evidently.
rock layers were
Right.
worn away by wind, ice,
Before I
and
start
water.
on a different
But
state.
tougher caprock remained. Despite being less well-known nationally, the density of arches here equals well-known Western formations. Rock climbers consider Red River Gorge world-class terrain, with hundreds of established routes on sandstone cliffs. Hikers can spend weeks exploring different arch formations, each with unique character and geology. The gorge proves Kentucky can compete with Utah for natural stone architecture. You just need to know where to look in the Appalachian foothills. Fact 36. A stone bridge you can walk across. For now. Imagine walking across a 78-foot-long bridge made entirely of sandstone, with nothing holding it up but gravity and time. That's what you get at Natural Bridge State Resort Park, where a massive rock arch rises 65 feet into the air, held in place by millions of years of erosion and one
That's
hard
pretty
layer
cool, too.
of surviving stone.
Yeah.
It's been here longer than recorded history. Native Americans knew of it long before any settlers arrived. You can hike across the top or stand underneath and stare straight up at thousands of tons of suspended rock. But nothing lasts forever. One day, this bridge will fall. Fact 35. Cumberland Falls and the Moonbow. Cumberland Falls plunges 68 feet over a 125-foot wide chasm. They call it the Niagara of the South, which is pretty generous considering it's 1/10 the size. But here's what makes it special. It's one of only 2 places in the Western Hemisphere where you can see a moonbow. On clear nights during a full moon, the mist refracts moonlight into
That's beautiful.
actual rainbow
Where's that
colors. You need patience, timing, and
Cumberland
luck to
Lake,
catch it.
Cumberland.
But when it happens, you're witnessing something most people will never see. Sometimes the show
That's
meets
fucking
the
awesome.
stage.
It's
Fact
kinda
34. The tallest waterfall you've
Down
never
by
heard
Tennessee,
of.
kind of. but
Tucked
on
deep
the other
in the
side,
Appalachian
Kentucky, obviously.
forest, Kentucky
Uh,
hides a vertical secret. Yahoo Falls plunges 113 feet over a sandstone cliff, making it the tallest waterfall in the state. It's not flashy, but it's intense. A single white ribbon dropping into a forest basin so green it almost glows. The hike there is quiet. The trail lined with wildflowers, and the sound of falling water echoes off the rock like thunder in a cave. Nobody
That's
really
some
knows where
moonshine
the
water
name
there.
Yahoo came from. Maybe a Native American word, maybe something stranger. But one thing's for sure, it's the kind of place that makes you believe in legends. Fact 33. A wilderness born from engineering. Imagine building a giant artificial lake and accidentally creating a massive wildlife sanctuary. That's what happened with Land Between the Lakes, a
Yep.
171,000-acre peninsula nestled between 2 man-made reservoirs, Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley. Dams created the lakes, but nature reclaimed the land between them. Now it's home to roaming bison, elusive elk, bald eagles, hardwood forests, and cypress swamps. You can drive scenic byways,
we got
hike
elk?
hidden
I didn't
trails,
know
or
that.
camp under skies
I didn't either.
untouched by city light.
Well,
It started
might
as a
have to get
federal
us a
project. Today,
elk tag.
it feels like a prehistoric refuge. Proof that sometimes when humans step back, nature stages a comeback. Fact 32. Ice storms that shatter forests.
That's-
Kentucky's winters don't always come with snow. Sometimes they bring crystal destruction. When warm Gulf moisture collides with Arctic air, you get ice storms that turn the entire state into a frozen glass sculpture. Trees become icicles. Power lines sag and snap. Roads vanish under sheets of black ice. In 2009, a single storm knocked out power to over 600,000 people.
Yeah, we sure
Whole
fuck do
forests
that, though.
sounded like they were exploding as frozen branches cracked like rifle shots.
It's
It's
in the eastern part of
hauntingly
the state.
beautiful until it isn't. These aren't winter flurries. They're natural disasters made of glitter, and they've reshaped Kentucky's land time and time again. Fact 31. When gators come knocking in Kentucky, you don't expect to find alligators in Kentucky. And yet, every now and then, one shows up. Not in a zoo, not in a truck, just on someone's porch. Ring doorbell footage has caught gators wandering through yards in western Kentucky, far from their native swamps. How? It turns out summer heat and warm river currents from the Gulf create temporary migration highways. The Tennessee and Ohio rivers act like reptile runways, letting the occasional gator cruise hundreds of miles north. Most don't survive the winter, but their surprise cameos prove something wild. When rivers flow long enough, even ecosystems get visitors. Fact 30. Hills built by the wind, not the river. Western Kentucky is mostly flats until it suddenly isn't. Step back from the Mississippi River and the ground lifts into steep Loess Bluffs, rising 300 to 500 feet. These hills weren't carved by rivers, but built by wind. During the last ice ages, powerful gusts carried fine silt across the land, piling it into fertile but fragile mounds that erode easily. Today, they mark the transition between river lowlands and upland terrain, a sudden change that catches drivers off guard. They look soft, almost sculpted, like a wave frozen in time. In a state shaped by water, these hills are a rare monument to the power of air. Fact 29. The Knobs, nature's fence around the bluegrass. Picture a ring of stone towers guarding Kentucky's heartland. That's the Knobs, a necklace of steep conical hills that circle the bluegrass region like a natural fortress. They're not volcanoes or mountains, but erosion survivors. Millions of years ago, this was one huge plateau. Then the soft rock eroded away, leaving behind limestone outcrops that stand like sentinels. From a distance, they rise like shark fins from the land. Early pioneers dreaded them. Roads detoured around them, and to this day they mark where gentle farmland turns wild. They're Kentucky's geological perimeter, silent, jagged, and always watching. Fact 28, a hidden canyon older than mountains. Snaking through central Kentucky, the Palisades look like something ripped from the American West. Sheer cliffs up to 200 feet tall, carved by the Kentucky River over millions of years. But this isn't Utah, it's the bluegrass. And these walls tell a deeper story. Each exposed layer is a page from Earth's ancient history. Limestone formed when this land was an ocean floor. The gorge traps a cool microclimate that shelters rare plants and endangered bats you won't find anywhere else in the state. Paddle through it, and you're not just on a river. You're navigating a 100-mile canyon older than Appalachia itself. Fact 27, Pine Mountain and Cumberland Plateau. Ever wonder where Kentucky gets its wild side? The eastern border follows rugged highlands like Pine Mountain and the Cumberland Plateau. Mountains reaching 2,500 feet that are the southernmost stretch of the Appalachians in the state. This terrain creates serious geographic and cultural barriers, with communities tucked into narrow valleys separated by steep ridges. The high country supports different ecosystems than the lowlands. Northern hardwood forests and rare plant species that don't grow anywhere else in Kentucky. Coal seams here fueled the state's energy economy for generations.
You learning
Though
anything
the
here,
environmental
Nutty?
cost was steep.
A little bit.
Some communities stayed
Some
isolated
stuff
until just a
I
few
didn't
decades
know.
ago because the terrain was so
I'm learning a
tough.
lot off
These
this motherfucker, to
mountains
be
are
honest with you.
Kentucky's rugged
All I
Appalachian
ever
side,
known it for
a
was
place that
Kentucky
resisted
Lake
settlement and still feels
and the
wild
casino.
in a state known for
No, I'm just
bluegrass
playing.
and bourbon. Fact 26, the town that lives in a crater. Middlesboro, Kentucky looks like any small town, until you realize it's sitting in the middle of a cosmic scar. Roughly 300 million years ago, a meteorite slammed into what's now southeastern Kentucky, leaving behind a 3-mile wide impact crater. Today, homes, stores, and schools sit inside it like nothing happened. Look closely at a topographic map, and the perfect circular bowl is impossible to miss. Even weirder, it's the only place on Earth where coal is mined inside a meteor crater. The impact actually preserved the seams. Middlesboro residents literally live on top of a celestial crash site. It's not just local history, it's interstellar. Fact 25, the pass that built Kentucky. Cumberland Gap isn't just a dent in the Appalachians. It's a gateway that shaped the entire American frontier. At 1,300 feet elevation, it's one of just 3 natural breaks in the mountain chain that once walled off the West. Long before roads or railways, bison carved a trail through it. Then Native Americans. Then Daniel Boone.
Sure can't call
His
Kentucky
wilderness
flat.
road through this one pass funneled over 300,000 settlers into Kentucky. The secret? A soft
Kentucky
band of
got
rock
some hills,
eroded
man.
faster than the rest, punching a hole through the otherwise unbreakable ridge. Even today, highways still trace that same ancient route, because when the mountains finally open up, history follows. Fact 24, Daniel Boone National Forest. The 708,000-acre Daniel Boone National Forest sprawls across 21 counties of eastern Kentucky's hills and hollows, protecting over 1,600 square miles of Appalachian wilderness. This colossal forest encompasses sandstone cliffs, river gorges, natural bridges, and overlooks offering panoramic views. It provides habitat for black bears, elk, and countless other species while offering recreation ranging from rock climbing to backcountry camping. The forest demonstrates successful reclamation. Much of this land was heavily logged or strip mined before federal acquisition and restoration. Fact 23, Kentucky's Fossil Beach. Beneath Kentucky's green hills lies a tropical graveyard. No joke. 350 million years ago, central Kentucky sat under a warm, shallow sea. That ocean left behind thick beds of limestone made from coral fragments, seashells, and sea creature skeletons. Today, that ancient seafloor is the bedrock for towns, farms, and bourbon distilleries. And it's full of fossils, crinoids, brachiopods, and bizarre creatures you've never heard of. You're walking over the remains of a prehistoric reef every time you cross a pasture or park in a limestone driveway. Fact 22, hidden arches by the thousands. Think Utah has a monopoly on natural arches? Think again. Kentucky has over 2,000 of them, more than any state east of the Rockies. Most tucked away in Daniel Boone National Forest in the Big South Fork region. These sandstone spans were sculpted by millions of years of wind and water eating away softer rock beneath. Some are small enough to crawl through. Others are big enough to support trees on top. And the best part? dozens are still unnamed and unexplored, hiding in remote hollows with no trail signs. For arch hunters, it's the quietest gold mine in American geology. Fact 21. Blanton Forest, last old growth. Blanton Forest on Pine Mountain is Kentucky's last significant old-growth Appalachian forest. Ancient trees that escape the saw blades through remoteness and luck. This highland sanctuary harbors boreal relic species, northern plants and animals clinging to southern mountains like ecological refugees from colder times. The forest shows what Kentucky looked like before European settlement. Massive trees, complex structure, and diversity that second-growth forest takes centuries to replicate. Rare salamanders, millipedes, and plants survive here in isolation. Look at it like a living museum of what's been lost elsewhere and what's worth protecting. A baseline for measuring ecological damage and a goal for restoration efforts. Fact 20. A reef older than trees. At the Falls of the Ohio in Louisville, you can literally walk across an ancient tropical reef. One that's older than trees, dinosaurs, or even insects with wings. When the river runs low, over a mile of exposed bedrock reveals a 385-million-year-old Devonian coral reef. It's packed with fossilized crinoids, corals, and brachiopods from a time when Kentucky was a shallow sea near the equator. No digging required. These fossils are just lying there under your sneakers. It's one of the largest naturally exposed fossil beds in North America, and it offers something mind-bending, a chance to stand on life that died before land had forests. Fact 19. Big Bone Lick, Mammoth Graveyard. Big Bone Lick sounds like a joke, but it's actually one of the most important Ice Age fossil sites on Earth. In northern Kentucky, mineral-rich springs created a natural salt lick that lured woolly mammoths, mastodons, giant sloths, and prehistoric bison. Many got trapped in the swampy ground and died, leaving behind a massive trove of bones. Native peoples told stories about the big bones. Lewis and Clark sent samples to Thomas Jefferson, and early scientists used bones from here to help invent modern paleontology. To this day, bones still rise to the surface after heavy rains. A reminder that Kentucky's frozen past is never that far below. Fact 18. Underwater cavern fossils. Mammoth Cave isn't just the world's longest cave, it's also one of the strangest fossil archives on the planet. Deep underground, scientists have found fossilized fish, shark teeth, and amphibian bones embedded in the walls, or buried in the sediment. Some are 300 million years old, from when Kentucky was covered by warm tropical seas. Others date to Ice Age floods that poured into the cave after it formed. It's a layered fossil record unlike anywhere else, a prehistoric jigsaw puzzle where ancient marine life, swamp creatures, and cave-dwelling species all overlap in the dark. It's not just a cave, it's a time machine with walls that talk. Fact 17. When coal was a rainforest. Look at a lump of coal, and you're staring at sunlight from 300 million years ago, trapped inside the plants of a lost rainforest. Eastern Kentucky's coal fields come from the Carboniferous period, when the state was a huge tropical swamp. Fossils from that time show brachiopods, giant insects, and horseshoe crab ancestors, all thriving in a steamy jungle world. Over time, dead plant material stacked up, got buried, and turned into coal. This stuff powered the Industrial Revolution, and also preserved one of the most intense climate shifts in Earth's history. Kentucky's coal isn't just fuel, it's the ashes of a forgotten ecosystem. Fact 16. Fossilized swamp trees. And it wasn't just sea creatures living in those swamps. Eastern Kentucky coal seams contain shards of fossilized calamites. These are towering tree-like plants from Carboniferous swamp forests that once covered the region. These fossils show that 300 million years ago, before the Appalachians rose to current heights, Kentucky supported thick tropical vegetation reaching heights modern forests can't match. The calamites were relatives of today's tiny horsetails, grown to tree size in the warm, humid atmosphere of the Carboniferous. Their fossilized remains appear as distinctive patterns in coal and surrounding rock layers. Fact 15. The storm that erased towns. In February 2025, Eastern Kentucky faced one of the worst natural disasters in its modern history. Over a single weekend, nearly 9 inches of rain turned sleepy mountain streams into violent rivers. Hillsides collapsed, roads crumbled, 22 people lost their lives, and entire neighborhoods vanished under walls of water and mud. More than 300 roads were blocked or destroyed, some just gone. This wasn't a slow disaster. It happened almost overnight. Towns that had survived the 1937 flood found themselves underwater again, this time with even less of a heads up. It was a warning that Kentucky's steep slopes, rain-saturated soils, and shifting climate are a deadly combination we're still underestimating. Fact 14. The sky fell twice. Kentucky isn't just famous for horses and bourbon. It might be one of the only states hit by 2 meteor strikes. One is confirmed, the Middlesboro crater in the southeast, a 3-mile-wide impact site where people live, shop, and mine coal inside an ancient cosmic scar. But geologists think there's another. In western Kentucky, strange circular landforms and shocked quartz crystals hint at a second impact, millions of years older. These cosmic blasts released more energy than every nuclear bomb ever made, wiping out everything for miles and leaving marks so old they've almost disappeared. Almost. If confirmed, that makes Kentucky one of the most sky-punched places on the continent. Fact 13. A parking lot of prehistoric shells. North of Lexington, there's a stretch of exposed bedrock that looks like someone paved the ground with seashells. Except these shells are 385 million years old. The region's limestone is packed with trilobites, armored sea creatures that lived long before the dinosaurs, and brachiopods, crinoids, and other fossilized reef life. Entire rock faces are fossil mosaics, so dense they blur into texture. This was once a tropical seabed as rich and biodiverse as any modern coral reef. Some trilobites stretch several inches long, their exoskeletons perfectly preserved. You're not just walking on ancient rock, you're walking on the floor of a lost ocean. Fact 12. The salamander that breathes through its skin. It's slimy, ancient, and 2 to 3 feet long. Meet the eastern
What? No, what the hell is that?
Salamander, and one of Kentucky's weirdest residents. Found only in clean, cold Appalachian streams, these wrinkly amphibians look like creatures from a bad dream. Locals call them snot otters, or old lasagna salads. They don't have gills or lungs. They absorb oxygen through folds in their skin.
Hey man, I've seen those,
so they
bro.
need water that's crystal
Have
clear
you?
and ice
Yes.
cold. That makes
I've
them
never
brave,
seen that.
fragile, and freakishly cool. Biologists love them. Polluters fear them. Because if the hellbender disappears, it means your river's already dying. Fact 11. Lotus leaves the size of manhole covers. Kentucky's limestone springs can grow giants. In certain wetlands fed by mineral-rich karst aquifers, American lotus flowers have exploded in size. We're talking blooms the size of dinner plates and floating leaves that stretch nearly 6 feet across. These are some of the biggest lotus specimens ever documented in the U.S. The secret? Water chemistry. The minerals leaching out of Kentucky's bedrock supercharge aquatic plant life, turning ponds and backwaters into glowing jungles of prehistoric-looking flora. Fact 10. Kentucky's wild weather swings. With a recorded range of 151 degrees Fahrenheit, the state has swung from a sweltering 114 degrees Fahrenheit in Greensburg, 1930, to a brutal negative 37 degrees Fahrenheit in Shelbyville, 1994. That's hotter than parts of the Mojave and colder than most of Alaska. These extremes happen because Kentucky sits at a geographic crossroads where Gulf moisture collides with Arctic air. One day, it's tropical. The next, it's tundra. Summer heat waves often come drenched in humidity, while winter can bring icy Arctic blasts that shatter records. This volatility affects farming cycles, infrastructure stress, and even wildlife patterns. Fact 9. The relict darter, an endemic survivor. In the remote streams of western Kentucky's Bayou de Chine system swims one of the rarest fish, the relict darter, found nowhere else on Earth. This small, federally threatened fish occupies only about 33 stream miles across 2 isolated populations, making it one of the most geographically restricted vertebrates in North America. The relict darter gets its name from being an evolutionary remnant, a relict species that represents an ancient lineage surviving in a tiny refuge. Males develop distinctive lollipop-like white knobs.
Looks like little guppies
during breeding season, one of the species' most unusual characteristics. The fish nearly went extinct due to agricultural runoff, stream channelization,
what are they, like cleaners?
Habitat
Like
degradation,
little suckers?
but decades of conservation.
I don't know. I've never heard of
its
it.
status from endangered to threatened. It survives in undercut banks and beneath root mats where water flows quietly over.
Look like something I've had in my aquarium before,
Canada, but
Right, that's what I was
mountain
saying.
top.
It looked
Up at the
like
highest
almost like
ridges near
guppy-like
Cumberland Gap,
almost.
Kentucky hides its own miniature Canada, We're talking about Appalachian spruce fir forests, Ice Age relics clinging to the mountaintops like biological time capsules. These trees, better suited to Nova Scotia than the South, are leftovers from the last glacial advance. As the ice retreated, they stayed, stranded on peaks where temperatures stayed just cold enough. They're home to northern wildlife and mossy understories that feel completely out of place in the bluegrass state. But they're also disappearing. Climate change threatens to push these high-altitude ecosystems right off the top of the mountains, leaving species with nowhere to go. It's one of the best examples of how past and future climates collide in a single forest. Fact 7. Rewilded megafauna. Imagine turning a corner on a Kentucky trail and seeing a herd of elk or a massive bison standing in your path. That's not a dream. It's reality at Land Between the Lakes. In a 17,000-acre prairie restoration zone, free-roaming herds of elk and bison have been reintroduced after disappearing from the state centuries ago. It's one of the largest rewilding efforts in the Southeast. And these megafauna aren't just big. They're ecosystem engineers. Their hooves churn soil. Their grazing reshapes plant communities. And their presence brings back a rhythm the land had forgotten. Seeing them today feels unreal, like time travel to a wilder Kentucky. But it also proves that with enough space and planning, we can bring lost pieces of nature back from the brink. Fact 6. Kentucky's Sky Highway. Twice a year, Kentucky skies fill with travelers. Not planes, but birds. Millions of them. The state's 6 square Mississippi Flyway, a major migratory route for birds flying between.
They're taking the bully to rural Canada. Yeah.
From tiny hummingbirds to long-necked
Yeah.
aerial parade peaks in spring and fall. River valleys like the Ohio and Mississippi act like natural highways, guiding birds along predictable paths where they rest, refuel, and regroup. Wetlands and forests become rest stops on a journey thousands of miles long. For birders, it's like the Super Bowl. For scientists, it's proof that Kentucky's ecosystems serve global functions. For the birds, it's life or death. And Kentucky is a critical layover. Fact 5. Ancient monsters in the gravel. Look close enough in western Kentucky's riverbeds and you might find something shocking. Prehistoric fish fossils right under your feet. Spiny sturgeon armor. Bony turtle plates, pieces of creatures that swam here over 100 million years ago. They wash up after storms, embedded in ancient gravels eroded from long-buried rock layers. Some sturgeon fossils suggest fish the size of canoes. Others belong to now-extinct armored species that ruled Mesozoic waterways. Their discovery links modern rivers to ancient seaways, where reptiles and giant fish once ruled. In a place known for muddy catfish holes, it's a reminder that every bend in the river hides a page from deep time. Fact 4. Swamp South in the Bluegrass State. Think Kentucky's all horse farms and rolling hills? Head west and you'll stumble into something else entirely. Southern swamp forest. In low-lying river bottoms, bald cypress and water tupelo trees rise from dark standing water. Spanish moss occasionally hangs from branches. Water moccasins slither under logs. Alligator snapping turtles patrol beneath the surface. It's more Louisiana Bayou than Louisville bourbon. These ecosystems are rare for this latitude, made possible by Kentucky's position straddling multiple biomes. They support species that most of the state never sees, making Western Kentucky one of the North's best places to experience the Deep South's ecological flavor. Fact 3. Ancient palm pollen. Kentucky feels a long way from the tropics, but it wasn't always. Soil cores from across the state reveal ancient palm pollen, microscopic evidence that the region once supported subtropical forests. These fossils come from interglacial periods thousands of years ago when the planet warmed and species like palms migrated north. They're tiny, but they say something big. Kentucky's current landscape is just a phase in a very long story. As climates shifted, so did the plants. And as modern warming accelerates, palms could eventually return. These pollen grains are botanical ghosts, reminders that the forests we know are temporary costumes worn by ancient land. Fact 2. Fulgurites, lightning glass. When a bolt strikes sandy ridgetops at over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, it can fuse the grains into glass tubes called fulgurites. Natural sculptures shaped by sky. These glass roots twist into the earth. Some are as
Hey!
Indigenous legends spoke of lightning striking the earth, Turns out they weren't far off. Fulgurites are rare and beautiful, tangible proof that a boat from Peru touched
Damn
ground.
dogs.
Fact one, when the Ohio River flowed backward. Let's end with a flood that redefined Kentucky. In 1937, relentless rain turned the Ohio River into a monster, swelling so high it reversed flow in some areas. Over 1 million people were displaced across the Ohio Valley. Louisville, entire towns vanished under the waves. Water backed up into Kentucky tributaries so fast, people had minutes to flood. This mistake led to massive federal investment in dams, levees, and flood control systems that still define the region's rivers today. But for anyone who lived through it, memory remains. A moment when one of America's mightiest rivers fought back and won. What about 50 insane facts about Michigan you've never heard?
Whoa. Stop the presses. Hold the phone. Hold the phone.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay. Shout out to Gotcha, man. Sorry about that.
Got you in there?
It ended the video and I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, I got you.
And I heard Gotcha's voice, so I looked up and was like, oh, shit.
Oh, come here. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were coming. I didn't know you were coming.
Yeah, that's today's episode of My State.
And mine.
Yeah, and we touched on Nugget State. I think that's what I'm going to start doing on the Mud Daddy channel. Is I'm going to start doing more outdoor content over here. Now we'll still do our music and stuff on Muddy Traits. You know, that's Muddy Traits. That's what we do over there. But I think over here we're just going to start going and exploring. You know, take you guys on any hunting trips, fish trips, cave exploration, just taking you down to the river and checking out the river and shit. You never know what you'll walk up on in the woods, I promise. That's you never know. You know, I got a couple jobs coming up and they're out there. One is in the middle of the woods. So you can always stop by for, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. We can hit the trails. Plus, it'll be good exercise for my old ass. I think I'm over the back and forth stuff on YouTube, guys. You can test me all you want, and that's fine. But you'll get bored with me eventually. And with that being said, I have to change something before I get the hell out of here. Glad I said that. Reminded me of it. We'll just go and use the same outro that we used for the intro until we can get some new stuff made, you know? This is all brand new, guys. I literally woke up this morning and decided to look at life differently. I decided to focus more on how I wanted to be instead of how I was being. I don't want to be the asshole on here. I don't want to be the guy arguing and fighting with everybody. I don't. Can I? Probably so. I could probably go at it with, but that's not, like, I've always been able to match energy with people, but that's not what I want to do. Not what I want to do at all. I want to have fun. I want to explore. I want to cut up conversations with people around the United States, that kind of shit. Hang out with my friends, whatever. I don't want to do the back and forth bullshit anymore. It's not healthy. I don't know if anybody's ever told you guys this, but it's
Well, I'm
not.
gonna be honest. That's why I left the cannabis community.
I know you did. And that's why I told you were walking into the same thing you left.
I know. I do that for the most part.
But everybody says it. Nobody really does it. So I'm going to lead by example here. And like I said, Muddy Traits, we are still going to jam out to music, man. We're still going to play the same kind of music we've always played, independent artists. We're always going to do that. Just because I myself have a love for music. Chaotic has a love for music. Nugget has a love for, a lot of us have a love for music. You know what I mean? So, but, you know, like, there is a separation between Mud Daddy and Muddy Traits. And this is what it's going to be. So, anyway, everyone have a good Sunday. We'll see you later this evening. We got a show tonight, I believe. It's the AI night. AI music tonight. Tune in if you like it. If you don't have to tune in. But that's right. Fuck them all. Feed them fish heads. That's what I was always told.
It's time for a break. Forget this car. Stone Panda is headed to the Redneck Rave.